Historic figures wave.
Committee of Rep Patrol. The rapid response team. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I gotta keep going because he married a young woman.
Because usually you have until
I'm getting there, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I have something for you.
I promise, 5 minutes. Ya estamos at 4:05. Bienvenidos and welcome to our book talk with our friend and colleague, scholar, community activist, community member, with Gregorio Mora-Torres, somebody that has been extremely important to our community and continues to be important to our community, not just for San Jose State, but for the area of San Jose. It is my honor to be able to welcome all of you and those that are with us online via Zoom. Thank you for joining us. It's a full room for those that are online, and I'm wondering how we managed to fill up this huge conference room. So thank you all for coming. I'm so appreciative. And it shows how important this work is that Professor Mora-Torres has done. My name is Catherine Blackmore-Reyes. I am the librarian and director of the Africana, Asian American, Chicano, and Native American Studies Center up on the 5th floor. It is my pleasure to welcome you and to host this event. I want to thank the individuals of the library, AV, and media who helped with organizing this event, as well as making the flyer that I think is absolutely beautiful. So I am grateful for the additional help and participation. So we're going to have this book talk. They have meters at 5, so we have to cut it so that they 10 to 5. For those that are online in the Zoom, if you have any questions, please place it in chat. We will not take any questions live via Zoom. So that's information. So I think I met Professor Mora-Torres, and I always call him Mora-Torres. I met him, I think, as a young student in Chicano Studies. I think I was at UC Davis, and I was coming to San Jose to organize the National Association for Chicano and Chicano Studies conference here in San Jose long ago. And we were meeting in the old library in Walquist, which was in this building, I believe. And that's how I came to meet him, and of course understand the depth of the importance of his family in the scholarship. And I arrived here at San Jose almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago. He was one of the first that I went and I lo saludé ahí when they were there in the gym. So we've had a long relationship together, and it's imagine how important this work, telling the story of Mexican Americans, of Chicanos in San Jose, and the contributions that were done in San Jose here. It's an unknown story. It's a beautiful story. It's an important history. So that's enough. So I welcome Dr. Gregorio Mora-Torres.
Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes. Para nosotros los mexicanos, las ganaderías son una parte de la cultura y del trabajo. Y ella se ha encargado de hacer muchas colecciones. Y por eso es la archivista de la historia. Gracias.
¡Aplauso!
Bueno, para comenzar.
We don't have a translator, so.
I know. Somebody was telling me that they have a pointer. Órale.
Okay.
Okay, this is a photograph that I used from University of Santa Clara in 1972. And there's quite a few people that connect to it. We have a lot of people who participated in this student protest in 72, but in 72 there were a lot of other protests across the Santa Clara Valley for school reforms, not only in elementary, but also high school and even college. Okay? And Consuelo Rodriguez, I think is here, was one of those people that was involved in this event in 72. She got fired for it eventually, right, Consuelo? So anyway, so she's part of history. Anyway, this photograph was basically, you can use it as a metaphor about the Chicano movement. In the past, people denied Chicanos the right to empowerment. And so that photograph is revealing because it shows Chicanos trying to get into the system and finally taking over by the use of physical force if necessary, but also, and obviously not violent, for sure. But to do that, let's go back a little bit in history. And basically try to correct history a little bit. A lot of people thought that California were people that were coming from Spain, or they had the connection to Spain. And in reality, if you go back and you look at the history of Mexicanos, it was Mexicanos coming from Sonora, and Sinaloa, and Chihuahua. And a lot of soldiers that were recruited from even farther deep into Mexico, who came to settle the Santa Clara Valley in 1777. And they gave the town or the villa of San José de Guadalupe a very Mexican name, Guadalupe. What more Mexican can it be than the Virgen de Guadalupe? So you know, and these people, when they came and settled San Jose in 1777, they basically continue a lot of the traditions of the Franciscan missionaries. They continue the tradition of raising cattle and other types of livestock. They also introduce European crops like wheat, barley, oats, and fruits. But a few managed to survive and keep their lands. And so they did keep a few small ranchos. The vast majority ended up moving to downtown San Jose, to the old Mexican pueblo. And you can see in the map, you know, Mexican pueblo is basically that area between Santa Clara Street, Market Street, San Carlos Street, and the eastern bank of the Guadalupe River. And so for the next 30 years, from 1850 all the way to probably 1890, this will be a place of refuge for Mexicans. It is the only place where they're allowed to speak Spanish. It is the only place where they feel safe from political violence or from regular violence. Okay? And so it is there that they're able to thrive, that they're able to continue their old Mexican ways. It is a place where they can speak Spanish. It is a place where they can smell Mexican food. And in many ways continue the Mexican traditions. But by 1930, this small community of Mexicanos began to grow because of other factors that I will talk about. And by 1930, it has expanded a little bit farther south from here. Okay. By 1960, it began to take over a lot of what used to be the old Italian town, Augusta. And by 1970, you can see that it's basically taking over the entire Italian community, Augusta. And the reason for it is a lot of the Italians eventually become more middle class. A lot of them become landowners. They begin to grow, to establish farms and so on. So they moved away, and that's what cleared the way. By the 1930s, you begin to see, this is in the Great Depression, but even before the Great Depression, thousands of Mexicans coming from Southern California, from Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and even the Midwest. Okay? A lot of people don't, they don't realize that there's a lot of people coming from places like St. Louis, Omaha, Nebraska, Detroit. You know, and yes, they get tired of cold, and so they come to a warmer climate. And they do come to the Santa Clara Valley by the hundreds, okay? And obviously there's a lot of Mexicanos. Mexican nationals are coming to the United States. I use the word ethnic Mexicans as part of the book because I want you to realize that all these people that come, the migrant farm workers that come from all these other places, have very unique and distinct experiences, but also common culture, but their experience of where they grew up is different. And so this is actually a photograph of an old lady in the Santa Clara Valley during the Great Depression. It is a classic photograph that everybody uses. Dorothea, I forget her last name, the famous photographer from the Great Depression took this one in the Santa Clara Valley. But this is how the Santa Clara Valley would have looked like up to the 1960s. A lot of prunes. And this would be a typical experience of a Mexican family. You know, look at, you have and obviously another experience is that people are not familiar with is the fact that a lot of people are living in labor camps all across the Santa Clara Valley. And sometimes some other people are living out there in the orchards, in the fields, where they have no direct access to clean water. So oftentimes they use water from the ditches for cooking and for washing. And so it is this type of problems that get people to organize and try to set up unions. And so by the 1950s, there's an interesting individual, a guy by the name of Ernesto Raza. He's a Mexicano from Nayarit. One of the first people to get a PhD. You know, he's a professor. In 1950, he's given the job of trying to organize the thousands and thousands of Mexican farm workers across California. And he spends 10 years organizing and trying to set up strikes. But every time that he tries to organize a strike, the strike is always crushed. Because the growers, with their powerful connections to the U.S. government, have decided to illegally use braceros to break the strikes. Okay. After World War II, a lot of Mexicans, ethnic Mexicans, entered the canneries and also the packing house. In the 1940s, there's about 40 canneries and packing houses. The packing houses are smaller than canneries. And the reason is because you have a war going on and you need to feed the troops. Okay? And all of a sudden you have a lot of people who disappeared. Former workers who have been working in canneries who disappeared because either they're being drafted or they're moving on to the war or to the defense industry across the entire Bay Area. And so there's no one to really take over the work in canneries. And so they began to settle in this area. And one of the areas they moved to is basically a place that they now call Mayfair. The original name for Mayfair was Salsipuedes. Okay? And Salsipuedes was actually established early 1900 by Puerto Ricanos who had gone to Hawaii to pick sugar. And on the way back, they decided to stop in San José, and they liked it and they stayed. Well, by 1940, this has become a place where the overflow, where people who don't no longer fit in downtown San José are able to move. And so you have the beginning of another large colonia in the east side. Okay? Salsipuedes eventually was called Mayfair. By the 1950s, you have a new organization that begins to take to operate in Santa Clara Valley. And this is the CSO, the Community Service Organization. And the main organizer is a guy by the name of Fred Ross, was responsible for creating the organization in Southern California in the 90s, visiting every town in the coast as well as in the Central Valley, trying to establish chapters of the CSO. Okay, and the idea of the CSO is simple. It's the same ideals of many Mexican American organizations that have been organized in the 1940s, 1920s. And that is the belief that Mexican Americans are now part of American society. Okay, and so this is the CSO, the local chapter. Okay, so this is what they try to do. The problems that Mexican Americans face in the 1950s is basically the fact that there is structural discrimination. And I know a lot of you will not know what the word means. Okay, but in city government, local government, county government, the local police, the fire department, all of these jobs that are out there are closed to Mexicans. Very few Mexicans are actually allowed to work there. And there's no reason for that. Just, so there's a problem right there. And then if you want to work in the craft unions, like being a welder, electrician, carpenter, you can get into that. Those jobs are reserved for white people. You can get the college classes that are necessary to get into San Jose State, Santa Clara, Stanford. And so in the 1950s, only a very small number of Chicano and Mexicanos are actually graduating from high school. And even a smaller number are going to San Jose State. You can count them in your hands. And there's practically no health services. You're living out there in San Jose, and you get sick. All the hospitals on the west side. Okay, now they want me to move faster. Okay, and so the 1960s began with a new generation of people who are different from the political activists of the 1950s. These people are no longer interested in asking. These people are not demanding change, social, political, and other kinds of reforms. And so they begin to develop this technique called mass community action. Instead of just a little organization that goes out there and tries to negotiate with the city council, with the mayor of San Jose, they're bringing in lots of people. Okay? And downtown barrio, which is big, it goes all the way to, by this time, to Alma Street. Then you have the other barrios on the east side. Well, something happened in the mid-1960s, basically gutted these barrios. Anybody? Know what happened? The freeway 280. Just cut through the middle of the barrio. Led to basically the destruction of the barrios. And this is something that Chicanos found out quickly. We got caught by surprise. Nobody knew it was coming. And so that's when they decided that it's time for people to get more organized. That is something that really devastated the community. And so, so I can move on quickly. There are 4 areas that this mass movement participated greatly in. One is Cesar Chavez's buildup of the United Farm Workers. Okay, and this is the Santa Clara Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area, is crucial to the survival of the United Farm Workers. It is here that Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers comes to looking for support for boycotts, food supplies and things like that. Okay? And the people that are living in San Jose identify with SJSU because they have all been farm workers for a long time. And that is really something which is new and shocking, and it takes a while before you get used to life in college. Okay? And so people here are demanding basically that, that there's some safeguards that are established to make sure that these kids who are going to Santa Clara College for the first time stay in school. So you need to give them tutorial assistance or whatever, but more important, you have to make sure that they have the money to go there. In 1970s, the university was beginning to cut down on financial aid. So in 72, November 72, about 38 kids decided to take over that building and force Father Terry, the president of the university, to talk to them. But he refused to. He said, okay, we can't take over. Until Father Terry decided to call the cops, the riot squad. And I can tell you this, they ended up going to jail for the first time. You got a lot of shocked parents who say, what? My kid got arrested at Santa Clara University? Shocking. There was a lot of young community activists who formed the Brown Berets, the Monitors in Santa Clara Valley. And basically, these people are working to make sure that the police are not abusing the rights of Chicanos. And so they will follow them. And the other thing you need to do is that once Chicano realize that, that you need to change, people need to realize that they need to run for public office. And so you have all these people like Ernest Alatia, John Castro, Ron Valdez, and they're running for public office. The problem is that it's virtually impossible for them to win. And the reason for that, and I think there's an article in the San Jose Mercury News today about what happened in Gilroy. The reason why these people couldn't win in San Jose was because at that time they had at-large elections for areas that were coming from the east side of downtown San Jose. And when you have the entire population of San Jose voting for their own candidates, there's no way that Mexicans are going to get elected. And so finally, in 72, Chicano movement forced or persuaded the other non-white mayor of San Jose, Norm Minera, to appoint the first Mexican American to the city council, and he did in 1972. Al Garza. Okay, and so from then on, with Al Garza now in office, they were able to change the way that the elections are conducted. So instead of having a large election, they changed over to district elections, and that basically opened the door for all kinds of Chicanos to run for public office at the school boards initially, eventually city councils, and finally for mayor of San Jose, and the first one was Juan Gonzalez in the early 1990s. They had to reclaim and promote ancestral culture. So here are some examples of that. Explanation, the conquista, culture. Go back to your roots and you can see the Quetzalcoatl snake. This is what artists do, Chicano artists that want to reconnect to the past. So Chicano, not Hispanic, get it right. Mecha, I don't like the way some of the younger generation uses the X. I like Mecha because it's revolutionary. If you look at what you have at the beak, a match that lights revolutions. La unión hace la fuerza. And then in 1970, you have the need to bring all these groups together. So somebody came up with the idea of a Confederación de la Raza Unida that will work together in unison. These other issues that you can read. They're fighting to end, to bring about political reform, economic reform, political empowerment, an end to police violence and harassment, judicial abuse. Then you have labor issues, women issues, community health, and so on. So there's all kinds of organizations that want to improve the lives of the community. And so eventually you have the first president, Jackie Barra. Okay. Jack Brito will also become president. These are all people that have a long record of community activism. And then you have a close friend of ours, Jose Carrasco. And then this is a group that is really powerful. It's just a very small group. The CEC, the Chicano Employment Committee. And they decided to force the doors open in the public offices. City Hall, Fire Department, Sheriff's Department, Police Department. They want those doors to be open, and then structural discrimination. And they did that by relying on a legal order called consent decrees, where they get the city to agree to go into court if the issue is not resolved. I wanted to realize that women were involved in every facet of the Chicano movement. And so I just want to leave you with all these images of Sofia Mendoza. To me, she's the mother of the Chicano movement in Valley. Ernestina Garcia. She also became president of the Confederación. Okay? And there she is. And this is my favorite. There's comadres that are never gonna say yes to anything unless they agree to. Okay? And so that's what the book deals with. There's a lot of other issues that I talk about, but this is a synopsis of what I worked at. In a way, it's my lifetime research, so now I feel satisfied that I did what I came to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mora. I'm just curious, has there been any information released from the COINTEL program on how the FBI got involved in the Chicano movement here in San Jose?
There's probably San Jose police infiltration of the Chicano movement. There could be information, there could be some evidence that perhaps the FBI was involved also in San Jose. But nothing clear. But yes, there were some people that were being harassed, and a lot of people, I'm sure, that were trying to radicalize and get people in trouble. And that happened here in Santa Clara Valley. But there's no concrete evidence that ever happened. But there are rumors, and people know that there was undercovers all over the place.
Okay, I just want to let you know that the book will be on for sale for $35. They're only taking cash or checks, right?
Yeah, cash or checks.
Okay.
Did anything in your research mention the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and COINTELPRO?
Again, that's something that needs to be researched. There is some evidence in the newspapers of people, basically appearing, radical Chicanos who appear and disappear, and you don't know what happened to them after a while. So that's what I'm saying, that there might be undercover agents trying to create trouble.
Do you think now we're going backwards with this new administration, and what can we do?
The only answer that I can give you is I don't like, I think we can do a lot of things through social networking, computers, through networks and things like that. But to me, the answer to all this change was people power. You gotta get people into the streets and demand change. You can't rely on city council people, you can't rely on other, Chicano local officials, because, they're gonna tell you they represent their people who voted for them, not necessarily Chicanos. So people need to take action on their own and organize mass movements. Because there's a lot of issues. Gentrification is a major problem here. A lot of people are being kicked out of San Jose simply because they cannot afford to live in San Jose. And there are people who were born, raised in San Jose, and they can't afford to live here anymore. To me, this is a tragedy.
Can you mention any work of Gregorio Mora, your sister? I know she did a lot of work in Berkeley, but anything that you can share with us?
I have books. It's in there. There's a lot of people. My sister, Gregorio Mora, was, one of those people that was active. Part of the book deals with Raza, and she was also involved with canner workers groups, and so yeah, there's a lot of women. But like I said, there's a lot of women who were active, and my sister was simply one of those young kids who was inspired by the Chicano movement, by socialism, by the Cuban Revolution, and so on. So she decided that she was going to be an activist, and she was until she died from cancer.
I just wanted to clarify that the Community Alert Patrol was
Yes.
the first group that tried to district the city. We went door to door trying to sign petitions, and they kicked out
A lot of our signatures, we kind of, it failed. So they were the first group to try to start.
And Community Alert Patrol was one of those members of Confederación. Yeah.
I rode Community Alert Patrol back in the day.
A lot of us did.
We just rode with you.
I had a question right there. Okay. Gregorio, please, can you identify the women in the picture? I know that they, the white people are very.
Okay. Could you please identify the women in your favorite picture there?
The one in the middle is obviously Sofia. The other one is Dolores Huerta, obviously. Esther Medina. Yeah, what? I think somebody knows them better than I do.
Carmen Montaño.
Isabel Duran, Judge Rossetto.
Yes. So these are all women activists. There's another woman that was in prison. I was in prison with. B. Robinson, woman. She was one of those people that decided that women needed to be protected. So there's a lot of other stuff. So a lot of the information is in the book. Obviously, I see that as the beginning of future books in the Chicano movement in Santa Clara Valley. Some people have written to me saying that I didn't cover this, I didn't cover that. Well, the book is already 600 pages. So, and I deliberately decided to leave out cultura. Simply because the book on Chicano cultura in Santa Clara Valley needs a book